need to know before you.
Do we need to know Ghost? Or are you gonna ask when we're going live? Before we go live?
Okay, yeah, 9.
Because we're
All right.
live.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, and the title has not changed, but that's okay because this is episode 9 of the Save Point podcast, and we are a little short this week. That's why I'm hosting instead of Blander with his
Nintendo.
deep radio voice. Yes,
Blander's stuck at work.
yeah. He's working overtime at Amazon. Well, I don't know if I should put all that out there, but being prime weekend and all that stuff, he's got things to do. So he might be joining us later. Zobi, I believe, is just on vacation, touring America, trying to make it great again. So we'll see how that goes. And but otherwise, we're all here. I think most of us have been playing Octopath, but just to
I
sort
didn't
of
get
segue.
mine yet.
But that's right, Nico hasn't got it yet, unfortunately, because it's got lasers and wolves and shit. He likes that stuff. But
Man's slacking.
yeah. Otherwise, I guess, has anybody here not been playing Octopath? And if so, what is it?
Well, I've been playing Octopath. Nico's the only one without Octopath currently.
What are you playing, Nico?
I've been playing
Hollow Knight.
nothing really, and I took like a week off. Well, no, wait. Well,
You've been on that Dragon Ball, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real. I've been on the Dragon Ball mobile game, but I took a week off. So I was gonna just relax into the gameplay mode for when I get Octopath. So,
I understand too. Like, I've been trying to put a lot of time into Octopath, and like, I haven't really gotten into it until like yesterday and today. Like, I haven't really been playing it all that much because, I've just been distracted by other shit. Like gaming is just in more and more like a passive thing for me. So.
Been on the bike of destiny.
Oh yeah, okay.
Walking the dog.
Yeah. I mean, I go through stages like that too. Like I'll go probably. I think I haven't with Xenoblade. I put 200 hours into that, and what?
I mean, to be fair, I think that even if it wasn't like that, like I think this game in general is like a game you just pick up and play occasionally. You don't always have it on, and you're not trying to rush through the story too much like that.
Oh, it's definitely not a rush and beat kind of game.
Oh hell no! I feel like I'm gonna be on this for a while because there's a lot of stuff to do, especially since I haven't even gotten to like the classes and everything, and
Yeah.
people have been saying it's like really grindy or whatever, but the combat is. I really like the combat. I think that's the highest point of the game, and it hasn't really felt like super grindy to me because even if you have like a low level character, they usually level up pretty fast when you put them in the party, and usually you're doing all you can just to get to the next story point in the game. So
But I was gonna say it depends on your play style. I didn't want to jump in too much there, but like I think it depends on your background with RPGs and how you feel about this game.
Yeah, it never feels like I'm really dragging on too much. Like you're usually at the spot you need to be like within an hour or so if you did a lot of leveling up or grinding at the beginning. But
The only part that I think is grindy is money, because like money's pretty hard to come by, and like everything seems so expensive when you go to a new town. You can only buy like one or two things, and then you gotta like grind with the merchant and just
how far are you
use
in,
all the skills.
Gambino?
I'm like 15 hours.
Did you get the merchant chick?
Yeah. That's what I mean. You gotta grind money with her.
Well, see,
grabs you a lot of money.
Yeah, and see, I started with the thief, obviously, so I've been like just ganking everything from even enemies to like bosses. Make sure you do collect on bosses too, because that'll get you a couple grand usually. But then obviously her anytime, I think it's like an interval, right? Or maybe every 5 minutes or whatever when you enter a screen, so she'll find money. And then, but usually when you sell those collectibles that you can steal off people, you can actually get a pretty good amount of money.
I actually have not sold anything, but I've been doing pretty well as far as like items. Like I usually just hoard a bunch of shit. Like like I'm at I think about 30 gold right now or whatever they call it, 30K or whatever for it.
Mm.
And I haven't really been losing a lot of money because, healing items aren't that expensive and that's all I ever really need or use. And you only
Mhm.
occasionally need to upgrade weapons and armor and stuff like that.
So
Yeah,
is
I
Especially
money
think
if
very
you're
your gear
important?
matters a lot. I think your gear
I,
matters a lot.
I
yeah,
money
Yeah.
matters, but in some other games, like I'd be changing like gear every other town or city, but I haven't changed weaponry that much, so
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty well.
yeah, it definitely matters. But I would say this: if you're like if you're not even level 20 or 25 yet, I would say just go with what you're collecting, and you can steal a lot of stuff. I would get the thief as early as you can, and
Yeah.
those purple chests that you couldn't open, they usually have a pretty good weapon in it.
Mhm.
I
Or
re-
equipment or something.
yeah, I wasn't buying equipment from the towns for the most part until much later. And then even then, if you can't steal stuff from some people, like a really good weapon you want, um, which from my experience you can steal it. It just takes a couple of saves and a retrying, even if it's 8 or 3%. And but then that merchant can sometimes buy them for a very good price. And obviously, I was lecturing Ghost yesterday about the inquiring because that's like
hmm
super super handy. There's like a lot of benefits to that eventually.
I've been
Yeah, I
using
started
the
using that.
inquiring a lot, but all it ever says is like I opened up an item in a different spot, or you can have access to a different item or something like that.
Or some
But
kind of treasure chest.
Yeah,
yeah, I think
that's that's
isn't that
most of
really the
it.
only thing it
No,
does? Like,
no, no. There's a
It
bunch of
raised your
side
steel
quests.
rates. Yeah.
Yeah, there's raising your steel rates. There's also one that teaches what's her name how to bargain better. So like even if you say you want to buy something from an NPC for like 60 grand, she'll get a refund for 18 after stuff like that.
okay,
That's sick.
Um,
because I mean I've been using Therion, but everything so far has almost been like 100% on its still rate, so I haven't had too many troubles with
Once you
that
and
so
get to
far.
the later towns, then it becomes a problem. Like
yeah,
it's like 50%, 60%.
and I'm not even sure you can steal these later weapons. There's some weapons that people have that are 0%, and I'm pretty
Yeah,
advanced in the stealing, so then you have to buy them with the merchant. So that
yeah,
discount becomes pretty crucial. But yeah, it's really cool how they connected everything. I'm really like that was kind of our main topic that we were going to touch on was basically Octogoat and what do you guys think of it and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
just to sort of preface our conversation, I guess, since Ghost got into it. But yeah, that inquiry skill definitely use it. It typically they're in the middle towns to later towns. You'll find one NPC that will boost your skill in some way,
Mm.
or like if there's somebody that you can't duel that's standing in front of a house, right? Somebody in that town will say they'll make it more easier for you to duel in that town. So then you can duel them and get into that building. And then sometimes there's merchants who then will unlock a skill or different stuff like that. So definitely do it. I would say for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, general impressions. Obviously, Ghost just talk slow and don't spoil anything. But general impressions so far in the game.
It's pretty good so far. I think what really saves it is the combat
Spoil it.
and the solo stories on their own. What I don't really like is the fact that you have these characters crossing over in each other's stories, and it wouldn't be a problem if they really interacted with each other. But I feel like you
The
kind of
YouTube narrative? Is that the YouTube narrative, sir?
no,
That's
it's not.
that's
It's not a
that's an
fucking
that's the
narrative.
IGN narrative.
But what I'm saying is, like, if the characters have nothing to do with the story, like I just want to go on to the next part of the story. Like I want to be able to choose when I drop a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
if I want to start another story, but like they kind of force you to recruit other characters because the level gap between each chapter is usually really
You
large.
mean
So
one of the main 8 characters or like some other
yeah,
characters?
like if you're playing like Primrose, you start off at like level 5 or whatever, like
Yeah.
in a town that's like level 5, and then her next chapter is like level 20. So you're pretty much forced to go and look at
Go
other
play somebody
people's.
else.
Yeah, go and play somebody else.
But you just
which
want to stick
is
I don't
with
know.
Yeah,
Primrose.
yeah,
yeah.
and as they should, but then they're also encouraging you to go explore because there's other
Mhm.
places to go and just like side quests to do and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So it's not
Yeah,
like you just have to
Yeah,
go to that other
yeah, I think
chapter.
that's
Like
cool though. Like they make you
it is cool.
yeah.
It is
it's like
cool,
an
but
open world thing, man. It's like you could just go anywhere, do anything you want. And I don't even feel like you're forced to play multiple characters. You can just stick with one that you want. I know definitely there will be people doing solo character runs of the game. So
Yeah, but I do think I'm not gonna spoil anything. I do think all the character stories do connect, and I think that somebody mentioned that there is an end game after you finish all of them,
Yes.
which is
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I heard
There
that
is.
too. That's
There
cool. That's
is.
cool.
Well, and it pisses me off that virtually every review was like, "Oh yeah, I only finished this one character, and this is what I think," and they were complaining about how it didn't connect. But here's my thing: is what's the intentions of the developer? If they just wanted to tell 8 separate stories and make them good stories, and that was their intention, why do we have to have all of these characters interacting? And that would be more difficult than you would think because you would have
Well,
to have 8 different situations for each situation you
see, that's
decided
what
to
I'm
that's what
do.
I'm saying. It's
that's what I'm
too much.
saying.
It's way too
You don't have to do that though. Like if the character is going to have their own story, you can always have the characters that are integral to that story be recruited to that party member. You understand what I'm saying?
But they didn't want to do that. This was all about being Octopath Traveler. It's their main design of the story was go do anything you want,
Hmm.
and it's your path. You carve it right. The octopus sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was their message, kind of. I think it's cool. And again, this was them taking a chance because it's not like you can just come out with a big budget. Or I'm sure this was big budget for a JRPG, not that it was a big budget game, but for a classic JRPG like this to do what they did, it was pretty risky. And obviously, it's paying off in spades right now.
It's sold out in Europe and Japan.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty
It's crazy.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
awesome though. I mean, I love the game so far. I think it's great. It's got just enough old school to it, and then I think Ghost made a comment that it's weird to have the voice acting, but from my perspective, it's obviously not because I played Lunar on the Sega CD. So like having this voice acting is like integral to like putting an emotional like touch on each individual story, and they're actually really good.
I do think most of the voice acting is actually really good. The only one I never really cared for is, to be honest, like a lot of people like Ulbricht's voice actor. Like I get tired of hearing Patrick Setz or whatever the fuck his name is in
Uh,
everything.
I didn't know who he was, but I say his voice fits for the character type. You know, one of my problems with the Tales series was or was it Tales? Yeah.
Probably.
No, actually, no. Sorry, it was Final Fantasy 13. Actually, who was that idiot with
The
the
black guy?
no the Caucasian with the do rag on or whatever his name is.
Oh, I think his name is Snow.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, I forgot.
Snow.
Yeah, exactly. All those stupid names. Like that dude looked like a riffraff, kind of a punk, and then he's got this regal sort of heroic voice. You know what I mean? Like to me, that just didn't fit. But this, it's sort of like that fantasy setting with one of the greatest knights in the country. So like Ulbrich to me is fine. It fits. Like I know it's cheesy, but it fits. I'm fine with
That
it.
grown man voice. You know what I'm saying?
I think the voice acting is really good, like during the story scenes. But like those little one-liners that they do just between the dialogue, it's terrible.
Yo,
Yeah.
did you start off with the hunter chick? I forgot her name.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hate
Oh
her
my
dialogue.
fucking
Haunted.
god.
Yeah.
Yes, haunted. Oh my god, that fucking dialogue is
That's who I'm getting, man. Honey, come on now.
Yeah,
Like
and the thing
full
is,
English,
what
but
doesn't make sense is like, I'm not sure. I was talking about this yesterday, but I think that type of English would have worked better in what's his name story, the scholar. I forgot his name.
Osiris.
Yeah, yeah. You would think that's would come from that part of the country, but whatever.
yeah. See, Cyrus, like I told Ghost this yesterday too, but Cyrus reminds me kind of Ghost if he was put in a video game setting because he's like using these big words and he's talking so much, he talks over people, and then he like runs over what they tell him, and they're like, Cyrus, like.
Yeah, it's not really paying attention to everybody else but him.
I was like, this is Ghost in the video game. No, but I like Cyrus. I thought it fit fine. Yeah, the hunter lady. God, I seriously I pulled my phone open for the first time while playing a story part in the game and was like on Discord, on Instagram or whatever, like distracting myself while I'm hitting A because it was painful. Like I didn't like it, but that's the only one so far that I mean, actually, the story seems kind of cool with the master thing and all that in the hunt, but.
That happens during some games. I felt like it was happening a lot during Xenoblade 2. I would pop open my phone during like cutscenes or whatever the hell. But
Cutscenes?
Yeah, I pop my phone open during like cutscenes, and I just like listen to it sometimes.
No wonder you
Because
missed some of those
some of
details.
them were just dragging on, especially like some of those later ones. Like, wasn't there like a fucking hour-long cutscene in Xenoblade 2?
Well, the
That's because you
problem.
didn't play the first game. That's why.
Well, that and the
Yeah,
problem is they would have like a 15-minute cutscene at the end of the chapter, and then the next chapter would start with another like 15-minute
yeah,
cutscene.
and then you gotta save the game. Yeah,
Yeah, that was not a great decision, but so I'll give you that. Those definitely could drag a little bit depending on what it was, but especially because the first chapter of that game, that end cutscene of the first or the prologue or whatever it was like,
Oh my god, the
yeah,
fucking prologue. That
it
was
was.
like Metal Gear Solid 4 levels long.
Well, no, but the cutscene itself is freaking awesome,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And
it
then the
was
rest of
great.
the
It was great.
cutscenes were kind of like, eh, you know,
Yeah, it was
we
great.
we collapsed the water tower. It's all good,
Yeah,
but yeah. So I guess everybody here pretty universally likes it. I know I got a ridiculous amount of time into it. You guys are all probably around the 10-hour mark, right?
Yeah.
I think I just crossed like to 11 or 12 hours just now.
I'm
Okay.
almost at 20.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've been playing as much as I like, but yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, I'm pretty much almost at 10.
I would say this: everybody should get so, a bit of the hunter class and a bit of the dancer class on every character as soon as possible because their passive skills are amazing, especially the hunter.
oh,
The hunter is really good, yeah.
Yeah, they have a skill that where you, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, okay, but it's a passive skill that you can earn. But basically, when you attack, there's a 50% chance that he'll follow up with another attack. And then the other one is a 25% chance at the end of the round that he'll attack again.
I'm just
Ariel
gonna
has that too, right? He can use
Oh
like
yeah.
a boost or a debuff skill and then he'll attack afterwards. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna think long, like I'm just gonna try and think about where like your characters are weak or whatever, like before choosing like my other class for a lot of characters, because like Therion is pretty decent, but like there's other areas that he could probably improve in, like maybe like there's probably like a cleric class or something, like a
No,
healer.
no,
Like,
I think you're going about it wrong, personally. So this is my thing, and again, this might bore some of the non-JRPG fans out there, but it playing to their weaknesses is just, I think you're gonna have a weak party overall. You have to play to their strengths. So like Therion is speed, he debuffs. Dancer's probably a good class for him because then you could just not have the dancer in your party, right? And
Mhm.
as a primary and have it as a secondary, and then you can debuff and you can buff your party too when you're not debuffing. So I would go with stuff like that. So like Ulbrich Hunter class is a good complement for him because he has a
you
wide
think?
variety of
I
weapons.
was gonna say, do you think Primrose would work well with like a hunter skill or no?
Mm,
No, because she's not a damage dealer, so she would go
Yeah.
good with thief, right?
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
the
you
same
can do
thing.
support with her. Or like
And
apothecary or cleric or something.
yeah, and honestly, Cyrus would be good for a cleric subclass, or even what was the merchant that has wind at least, so you get all the elements in there.
Yeah, I'm
Anything
using
that deals damage, yeah, with elements, I would say because light damage, I would go, and I think that gives a bonus to SP2. But the skills I have on them, SP or magic points aren't a problem. So uh, anything that you can add more damage with his elements with, add that. Don't look for a weakness because I don't know. That's just my perspective. I would play the strengths, not the weaknesses.
The only thing with Therion is I think the knife sword combo is kind of whack. Just because I think everything that's weak to sword is also weak to knife, and vice versa. It
Not
seems.
Not
not
later.
necessarily, because
Yeah.
I've noticed that Primrose is useless in a lot of situations, and you have to rely on her buffs, debuffs, and
Yeah.
her magic. Like she's good in other cases, especially like with her passive abilities, like SP restorative, so she can keep characters buffed or whatever. But the knife isn't always that great, just like how the bow and arrow is not always as that good either.
Yeah.
You
What I
just
can
have to
well,
go ahead.
what I can tell you from my later experiences with the enemies I'm fighting and stuff is weapon variety becomes a little less important because you're always going to have people that, I mean, you're going to have two classes on four characters, so you should kind of have all that covered. And then with some of
Yeah.
the skills you can use, right? And a lot of times, really, Cyrus, at least for me, because Cyrus has those double cast spells, and each enemy usually has one element that can take them down.
Yeah.
Or you can spam the hunter attacks with the hunter passive skills and stack those attacks to take down their shields, right? With maybe 1 or 2 DPS characters. So, but it is kind of a bummer if you do stack thief with dancer because you're stuck with just the knife and the sword. But it's a utility class, so you really want to use that as a utility for the rest of your party. And Cyrus with the cleric can be handy because then you really don't have to have a dedicated healer, and then you can fill that fourth class really with whatever you want, depending on the character. So
the only problem I've found with that is like there's some turns when you really want to do damage, and then you're stuck having to heal with Cyrus, and he can't do damage anymore.
Yeah,
well, it's like that kind of is a bummer.
But. Yeah, Ulberich right now is like my main damage cannon. He'll do over if I pick that last skill of his and have him fully charged, he'll do anywhere between 15 to 20,000 damage.
That fucking solo attack.
That's a lot.
Even cross slash, because the final skill that he gets to unlock will allow you to go over 900 or 9,999 damage.
Cross slash, shout out to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Hey.
But yeah, I mean, I'm having a ball with the game, man. I love it. I think the stories are great. I don't like how when you start to read the reviews and you kind of go back with just because it's an old school game, you kind of get this. Well, I love the game, but I don't know why. And it's doing all this stuff, and it's kind of like okay, even though they really like it. They can't really just say, "Hey, I love this game."
I think it's great, man.
But when you look at reviewers, they just can't say that. Meanwhile, Final Fantasy 15 is a tech demo with gas stations, and
people hated that. To be honest, I remember
the media didn't. The media did not. I'm pretty sure the Metacritic is higher, if not at the same level as Octopath.
I'm pretty sure it got like it had to have been somewhere in the 70s because I remember people were shitting on it really hard when Persona 5 came out and it was getting like 90s and shit.
That's just, but it's probably more fanboy stuff because Persona 5 was exclusive. But the media definitely loved Final Fantasy 15. They gave that way too much props. They should have really been shitting all over it. It should have been like Jim Sterling, how he shit on Final Fantasy 13. That's how they should have came at 15.
Ugh, like, Jim Sterling.
Like, look, don't get me. I like Jim Sterling. I don't agree with all the shit, but I'm glad he trashed 13 like he did.
Yeah. Well, they really just turned FF15 into Kingdom Hearts, and I think that's why people liked it so much.
Oh, God.
Basically.
Yeah, and it was a worse Kingdom Hearts.
Basically.
Yeah, slower.
Nier Automata was the worst Final Fantasy 15.
Okay, so it's at an 81 Metascore on Metacritic, and I'm pretty sure Octopath's like an 84. But I feel like you got to judge it for what it's doing, and to me, this is meant to be an old school JRPG, a throwback, and I think it's amazing.
Like, I don't see many problems with it at all. Like, I have a few issues, but otherwise, like, the combat is like I like how the combat feels balanced. Like I'm actually doing something. Like you know how you were playing like Persona 5 and then you would go like pretty much level up and then you pretty much wipe out everybody already.
Yeah, Persona 5 was just a or whatever AP. Whatever.
I think that's a problem with Persona in general, though.
No, but the other games are more balanced and it felt like more of a task. Whereas Persona 5 was like, I'm just going to spam all of my skills. It doesn't really matter, and they're going to die, and I just need to worry about refilling my AP.
Baton Pass really broke that game in a lot of ways.
Wait, which did?
Baton Pass, because you could switch over to another person, and then you could just use the elemental weakness.
Yeah, that was broken.
Yeah,
it kind of that's kind of how I thought the boost was going to be, but they really balanced it by making the enemies pretty tanky, especially the bosses.
And then, yeah, because pretty much every enemy, and not even just the bosses, like the basic enemies, have those shield meters. So you have to actually like understand like, and they're not all the same amount of shield break. That's the good thing about it. Like some have 1, some have 2, 5, etc. So it really forces you to think about how you want to utilize which person's skills at what point in time in the battle.
Exactly, it's really strategic actually. I thought it was before I played it, when I played a bit of the demo, I thought it was just going to be boost your attacks, spam, and then you'll win. But it's not that way at all, and it makes me happy.
And I think it explains its mechanics a lot better and utilizes its mechanics a lot better than say Bravely Default, where you never really knew like, okay, should I just go ahead and use the Brave mechanic or should I use the default mechanic? Like that was just all up to you. Like there was no situation where it's like, okay, this should make sense,
I didn't play Bravely Default, so I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, Bravely Default wasn't near as good as this though,
Oh,
and
hell no, hell no.
it's
Those,
amazing to me, like the warm reception it did end up getting, but it was kind of like with a reluctance, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I hate that support, like that whole toxic tone towards JRPGs, just because it seems like it's a genre that refused to change for so long, so people they still haven't gotten past this. Well, it's just the same old thing. But every other genre gets a pass when it comes to that stuff, and I
I,
just don't get it.
I can understand why people were hostile towards it initially because I remember a lot of sprite based games coming out on Steam. Like people would release physical copies of those other things like on PS4, like those cheap and easy quick RPGs like One Way
Mm,
Heroics or shit like that.
no, that's like there's like 3 games that got physical releases like that. You're talking about Half Minute Hero, and then also
Yeah,
there's
stuff
that
like that,
Cyberpunk game. That,
yeah, or
that's like 2 games though. And how long? I mean,
and I
it's
haven't played that. What is that? The Star Heroine or whatever. I hear that
yeah,
might be
Cosmic
good.
Star Hero, and that's what I'm talking about. That's actually a really good game though. Supposedly, I haven't gotten to it yet either, but
That game looks cool.
yeah, I plan to. I want to play it. Probably maybe after I play this, if I don't burn myself out for weeks. So yeah, I think so far it's the most enjoyment I've gotten out of a game so far this year, as far as just wanting to dig in and play and really everything's just clicking for me. I don't know. I like going into these caves and exploring and doing all the different stuff and not having it handed to me with an explanation. I think that's part of like the allure to JRPGs in general back in the day too. Is like you went somewhere and you found a bunch of shit you had no idea. Nobody spelled it out. Whereas like a lot of games like Tales and stuff, they say, "Oh, we have to go here. We have to do this," and then that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah, and I really like. Again, I'll mention the side quests because the side quests they give you like really vague descriptions on what you're supposed to do, and you kind of got to figure it out for yourself. And like even when I'm playing games like Xenoblade or something like that, they'll straight up tell you got to go here, you got to gather this, and you got to come back. And I really like that about this game. It makes you think.
Yeah,
At
and
least,
several
at
ways to do stuff
least,
too.
at least the maps in this game actually make sense. This is something that cannot be said about Xenoblade
Yeah,
2's maps.
your
Oh
jaded
god,
Xenoblade take.
Definitely.
No, I
I'm
get
not
it.
good
That,
for
that game
Xenoblade.
that was one of its flaws for sure. The UI and the map system was like,
Mhm.
whoa.
Yeah,
And I mean, they kind of fixed it later on, but fucking first 3 months that was travesty.
Yes, it was.
We have been talking about this game for about 30 minutes. Might need to move on to another
Hey,
topic.
hey, look,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. No, it's good. Yeah. So otherwise, like, I know I presented a few things. One of the things that did come out today, I believe, was No Man's Sky's next trailer, which is actually going to have multiplayer. It is launching July 24th, and I believe this is going to be a free update. I didn't see a price or anything like that, and I think they feel like they owe the fans to actually complete the game,
they
which sort
definitely
of
do.
leads me into my question is how do you guys feel about this? Because this is basically they're finishing the game that they promised how many years ago? Was it 3, 4 years ago?
Uh, I think it came out like
What type of
2016.
game is it though?
No,
I
it's
don't
like
know.
it's a
It was
space
either
exploration type game, and you mine. It's almost like an exploration Minecraft game, but space and planets. And it was supposed to be like where you could go to a unique planet,
yeah.
leave your mark, name something, and somebody else a year from now might
Mhm.
actually go to the same spot you went to, and they could see your mark, where you did, and all this stuff. And all of that was bullshit at launch. It had that to an extent, but it disappeared within a couple days or something like that. And
Yeah,
Wasn't it like a
it
0.001% chance that that would ever happen because the world is so big?
so they claimed.
Yeah.
So they claimed, but
it,
it probably turns out it was only like that because the world only stayed static for about 7 days.
Oh man.
The
yeah,
game looked entirely different from the promos too.
it
Yeah,
came
do you
out in
guys
2016,
do you remember? Well, okay, so 2 years, but
yeah.
do you remember the meme with like the Jurassic Park music where it was
Yes.
like da 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 da, and then it was like the weird looking dinosaur that was like an alpha state for
Yeah.
them. It was like
Yeah,
whoa,
it's doing this weird
wow.
strut walk. That was funny.
Yeah, I was
I'll
laughing
tell
my
you
ass off for
exactly
that.
how I feel about that fucking game.
But
I will never understand why anybody was hyped for that shit. It was all because of Sony's bullshit fucking press. Nobody would have ever cared about the game if Sony had never promoted it.
Well, that's kind of my point too. Do you remember the reviews? Everybody was talking about, oh, this is such a gem. This is great. Once you get it, it's going to be amazing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
My
it's a
favorite
gamer's
game.
dream.
Dude, everybody was praising that game up and down, and it wasn't finished. Like, here's the thing. If you would have said this is an alpha, here's $30 to get in now, like, they were doing that with plenty of games at the time, right? Still aren't finished. That to me would be acceptable. But $60 for that game, clearly not done, didn't have any of the features they had really promised, and everybody just sort of like shrugged. Now, granted, it didn't go, nobody, not everybody really bought it, didn't sell that well, but the press, kind of gave it this huge pass rate and loved it.
Yeah,
But
It's
go ahead, Hero.
it's crazy because I was telling people about this shitty ass game like 6 months before it came out. Like they were like friends I had talking about they were gonna buy it day one. I was like, there's nothing in the game. And then as soon as the game came out, I'm seeing people drop the game within the first hour.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like, yeah,
realized how bad it was.
I mean, to be fair, like you'd have to be pretty stupid to kind of fall for that game because, like, I don't want to call it a walking simulator, but there was nothing going on in that game. Remember at the I think they showed that off at like E3, and they had like it was like a 15-minute presentation of them just walking around in space and fucking bland, boring planets,
They're
desolate,
completely empty.
empty,
yeah.
desolate.
It's almost like they took the worst part of Mass Effect 2, which was probing fucking planets, and then said, here's our game, guys. But that's what they showed at the press conference, I remember.
It just kind of reminds me of those games like Journey and Flower or whatever, where it's just like I don't get this at
I mean,
all.
PlayStation Nation was hyped for that shit. What do you got to say about this, Nico? Great betrayal of Sony.
I mean, I like open world online co-op games. So if they gonna add their full multiplayer, I might watch some gameplay though. To be honest, man.
Yeah, I mean that was part of the original lure that you go explore with your friends and fly with your friends on different ships and potentially get into firefights and stuff. So if they actually do have that functioning now and it works, like I might actually check it out because I bought it on Steam last year, I think, during a sale for $5, so I have it. And it was supposed to be like a Minecraft exploration game, so I could see it having some allure. Although I've never gotten Minecraft, I just don't get it. But
Oh yeah, not yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
Minecraft did.
no, it's huge.
It's not that
It's one of the biggest games
me,
in gaming. Yeah, to you,
yeah.
it might be the biggest game this decade in gaming. Bigger, I think it's still bigger than Fortnite. It's like what kids grow up on these days, man.
Yeah, everybody knows what Minecraft is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
The biggest game in the world and absolutely not a goddamn thing to do in it.
Well, you build your house and then you craft and then it's almost like a different interface for like Harvest Moon and stuff like that. So
Oh, I was talking about No Man's Sky.
oh
I
yeah,
don't-
No Man's Sky. Well, No Man's Sky is similar, I believe, because you craft, you get resources, you do more stuff, and now they actually have bases, I believe, you can build and fly back to without having to use all your resources. So
Now that would be something cool to do with friends, like just go over a planet, take it over, build a base, fly out together and go like conquer some other people's place. That'd be pretty cool.
The
Yeah.
problem with
I could see
these
myself playing that.
the problem with these games is that they're half-baked ideas that people never really thought about the long-term, replayability of them, and that's why they end up sucking, and nobody is ever gonna go back to them. And I don't like even now, like No Man's Sky didn't come out that long ago, and if what you're saying is correct that this is just an update,
well, no,
then
it wasn't finished. I mean, there's people that obviously that loved it, so I don't get it, but I didn't actually play it. Just from what I saw, it didn't look too impressive.
I'm sure there are people out there that'll love it. There are people out here that would buy a Destiny 3 if it was announced tomorrow, but
That's true.
hey.
And then
yeah.
complain about it the next day.
But didn't they just
Yeah.
announce some update
Yeah.
like before the
Yeah.
podcast?
I want to talk about that. Like, I heard they gonna release like a big update that's gonna like change the game or something like that. And I was a little bit interested though, because I had Destiny 1, so I'm like, if Destiny 2 got a big update, I might check it out.
Well, you know what's funny about that is Nolan North is taking over for what's his name's character, God, what's Nathan Fillion's character
Oh yeah,
apparently.
yeah. I just
Which
seen that something like that. Yeah.
it's funny because Nolan North obviously did the Uncharted game with Drake, and Drake is a blatant ripoff of Nathan Fillion's character in Firefly.
Oh,
Like
word.
you rip off what was his name in that series? Shit, I can't remember his name offhand. But you guys, have any of you watched Firefly?
I've heard of it.
No,
Say?
yeah, I've heard of it.
Oh,
Uh-oh, Nintendo, what's up, man?
Blender?
Nintendo. What's
Yeah, I
good,
just
man?
got here. What's going on, guys?
Hey, just in time because we spent
change
about
the
a half
title.
hour working talking on Octopath. So you
All right, good.
missed
Missed
all
that completely.
Although Ghost didn't really spoil anything,
Good.
so I think it's
Oh yeah, Blender hasn't played it yet, huh?
Yeah.
Man, you slacking.
Too busy on ease.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sly hyped me up to play that game, so I gotta play Ease now.
We 3 wants his video. So
Yeah.
this depresses me that you're the only one out here not playing Octopath right now. That's whack.
How many hours did you put into it?
Only about 12, but I've been picking it up and putting it down here and there, But I really got
in the
into it
box,
like
or?
last night. Like I was really on it last night, and I've been on it today. So
Yeah. The farther you get into it, the more it opens up and it starts clicking more and more.
yeah.
Especially once you get to all the class change stuff. And
Yeah, I think once I wrap up all the character stories chapter ones, I feel like it's really gonna open up a lot more then.
Well, I think once you get all the subclasses,
Yeah.
my thing was I do think the valid criticism of the game was doing all the chapter 1s back to back, which you didn't have to do obviously, but if you did that, it could drag a little bit. It did for me, and I think part of my reason was the last 2 that I did was the Huntress and then the Cleric. And the Huntress one was like, obviously getting through that dialogue was horrible. So
Back to No
I
Man's
gotta
Sky.
I gotta
Back to
do
No
that.
Man's Sky. Back to
I
No
Yeah.
Man's
gotta
Yeah, let's
do
not
it
let-
just to do
Yeah.
all
Back to
that
No Man's
dialogue.
Sky, man.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, no, we're even. I think we're ready to get past No Man's Sky. But Blander, did you see that trailer for No Man's Sky? They're launching a multiplayer.
No, I didn't even. I thought they were completely done with that game. I didn't know they were
Oh
releasing
God,
it or
no,
something.
they still have not finished that game. And Sony fans have never talked about this, but they're releasing an update that's going to offer the multiplayer that they promised originally. Basically, it sounds like.
To be fair,
yeah,
they
some
shouldn't have
texture work and
talked
stuff.
about it.
Which I mean, it's good on them that they're doing it, obviously, and I don't think they're charging for it, so that's also good. I might check it out since I do have it on Steam, very cheap, that I bought it for. So we'll see. But
We should all check
I'm
out
gonna-
Destiny 2.
Years, right?
yes, no, I'm not. I am not checking out Destiny 2. I actually, I had Destiny 2 because I got really bored right around
Oh,
when
you
it
had
launched.
it? Oh,
I
sure.
bought it like 2 weeks after it launched out of boredom, and I played it for about a half hour, and I was like, yeah, I want this. But what I was going to bring up next, which is perfect because Blandrew is here, it is Sonic Mania plus launch day, fellas.
Oh,
Mm.
God.
No,
Please don't rebuy it. Don't rebuy it.
I
It's
just
not
ordered
rebuying,
it
Nico.
last-
This is
I
new
just went ahead and
DLC.
ordered it last night.
Damn,
Uh-oh.
Ghost, what's wrong with you,
Oh,
man?
God.
Why you do that,
I
man?
I
did
had
that too, Ghost.
I had to
even-
I had to do it.
Jeez.
I wasn't
Oh my
gonna buy it,
God.
and then I saw like a trailer for it on the
Are you
release
gonna
date,
play it?
and dude, holographic slipcover art book. I want that.
Yeah, you wanted that art book, huh?
Yes.
It'll be half
But
off
I
in a
mean,
month.
I also just kind of want to play through it again. There's some extra content, like extra bosses and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, can't you just buy the DLC online though?
Yeah, but I bought it on PS4 originally, and I want it on the Switch because I want to play a portable Sonic game. So yeah.
I guess that's
Okay.
a good enough reason right there.
Did they ever fix the frame rate? I heard Mania was kind of choppy.
I never-
originally.
Any frame rate problems?
I
mean,
did.
Yeah, I don't
The
remember,
only
man.
problem I
Okay.
remember is that the game would crash constantly for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, but
Yeah.
that was about it.
That
I
could have
like
been.
that Tetris thing with Eggman and the game just froze. I tried it like 3 times too, and it just kept freezing.
Yeah.
Eventually, it got past it, but
That
it was a pain.
could have been Sony fanboy propaganda. So, anybody else getting Sonic Mania Plus or hype for that DLC?
Nah.
no, I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
I
Well,
probably
I
won't
mean,
open it though, but I'll just have it just to have it.
I'm definitely gonna play it.
wait, Blandrew. We all
Mm.
we all know what
Yeah.
keeps Nintendo's channel floating and gets those subs. A good old Sonic Mania bashing video.
No, no, that's the
Bad
Sonic
Sonic
Forces.
Mania.
Forces, man. Sonic Mania
That's
is
Sonic Forces.
actually good.
Trash. I'm still getting like 30 comments a day on.
Listen, you need to put on your Leaf Village headband and go full Zobisemity rage, and those Sonic fans will just keep coming.
Thank God they retconned the connection between Forces and Mania, so now we don't have to consider.
I'll
that
probably
game's
be
existence.
hating on that racing game. That I'm kind of
That
skeptical
racing
on
game
that
looks
one.
pretty
Oh
bad.
yeah. Let's hate on that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty bad.
That game looks like trash.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm
It
gonna
looks basic. It looks basic to me. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I'm saying. Like Forces removed all the stuff that was decent about the Boost games, and it looks like this is gonna remove everything that was good about the All Stars games, which is sad. Because
Did you like All Stars?
Oh, dude, you know I love All Stars.
I don't
All
know.
Stars
I
Racing
never really
Transform.
heard you
Dude,
hype it before.
dude, remember All Stars Racing Transform? That set that was like one of the best racing games out there, if
Dude.
not my favorite.
Yeah, I'm the only one here that sticks by it destroys Mario Kart. Everybody thinks I'm insane
No
when,
way.
when I say
Dude,
that. though.
All Stars Racing
Yeah.
is pretty damn good. It's really good.
Yeah, if it was like All Stars Racing, I would have been hyped for it, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh,
It looks slowed down. It looks like textures are like really bad. Like everything just looks
I don't,
off.
I don't, I'll be honest. I don't like how it's Sonic characters only too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't even play the fucking Sonic characters in there. I would always pick like the guy from Crazy Taxi, yeah.
Do you think they're just trying to market it towards children?
Black guy from Crazy Taxi. Huh?
I know you're.
I'm just saying, do you think they're just trying to market it towards children or something,
Oh,
and that why
well,
they're
yeah,
only
I
going
mean,
Sonic because of the
like-
Sonic cartoon they're relaunching?
I
and
do
all that?
think that's more marketable than Sega All Stars, though.
Yeah,
Well,
because Sega All Stars, as good of a game as it was, I don't think it sold that well, right?
It probably did all right, but Sonic just has way more brand recognition than like any of those other franchises represented in All Stars.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I'm going to take Ryu on a forklift anytime, but I
Guy,
don't
guy
think that-
gamer, you're right. It is to cater more towards children now because Sega is doing this thing with Sonic where it's all like self-referential like humor and everything, and it's like just it's goofy. I think there's just this. I think they just want to play it safe, you know.
Somebody told me a criticism I had for Sonic Forces was addressed in like Sonic comic number 93.
What?
I almost blocked them on Twitter.
What?
Yeah, it's something like a complaint I had about his attitude or something was addressed in like some Sonic
because
comic.
he was like in a prison or something
I don't
at the
know,
beginning of the
something
game or
like
some
that.
bullshit like that.
Sonic
Yeah.
got attitude, man.
It was dumb. It was dumb. It was a really bad game.
You're too slow.
I will never forget that Bleach Kid defended that game. Never.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
You're arch rival Sasuke, but okay.
Picking up a Sonic Mania Plus or whatever it's called.
Dude, holographic cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for sure he's picking it up then because you're picking it up. You guys can duel, but yeah.
I'm not picking up the Sonic Racing game. There's too much coming out.
I'll pick. Well, that's December, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys say that. You're both gonna get it.
Yeah,
No,
I'm picking it. That's
I'm
Ghost
dead.
saying that.
I'm dead serious. Unless Blandrew says it's actually good, I'm not picking that up.
Okay, so listen, I'm gonna say right now, if
Respectful.
you pick it up,
Just remember the podcast. I'm telling you, like, I'm not gonna pick it up unless I
If-
hear good things about it.
if you pick it up, you've got to donate $10 to Slice Patreon. If you don't pick it up, I'll donate $10 to Slice Patreon. How's that?
Okay,
He
Yeah.
bought Forces.
Till
He
the end of
gonna buy
December.
Racing.
No.
dude, I bought.
Wait,
Forces
if
because I
that's
have faith in
December,
Forces.
I think Ghost won't buy. He'll probably be on Smash.
Exactly.
If any,
I'm
yeah,
going to be
Smash.
playing. I
Yeah.
told you, like, there's too much stuff coming out, like right now, at least in my opinion, because I want to get Blade Strangers. I know all y'all are saying that's gonna be shitty, but I want to play that.
Gross.
I'm gonna probably buy Monster Hunter at some point, and Smash is pretty much gonna take up all of my December anyway, so I'm probably not gonna get it.
I just really can't fuck with team racing games, man. I do not like them.
I know that just like that team part is what kills me.
Yeah, we gotta make everyone feel like a winner. Fuck
yeah,
outta
yeah,
here.
What y'all mean by team? I don't get it. What you
everybody
mean?
gets a hand.
So if
Everybody
I'm in
gets a
first
hand.
place and we're on the same team and you come in like seventh
Last.
place, it'll average out the points.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, what the fuck?
So there's no way to have a single racer?
No.
What?
Oh yeah, they tripping hard.
I didn't know that.
Gosh, dude, I don't like that.
Okay, bets off, Sly. Sorry, I didn't know that.
That's the whole point of a race, man. That's
know.
why you have places.
It's like
Oh,
if
yeah.
we're playing Mario Kart and I'm being dragged down by like anime fan or somebody who just like went out to go get a bite to eat or something, just left the game on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
Gargling
good.
water in the background.
Or if you and Aki joined forces, we'd all be screwed. But